Morning, guys. Right, so we will have a look at Wednesday's homework. So I wanted you here just to do a little bit more practice with the finding TN. When I corrected your homework on Wednesday, so not this homework, the homework that was I gave you on Monday to do for Wednesday, do you know what I mean? When I corrected that homework, there was a few people who just had nothing. It was like you didn't watch the video at all. You just didn't do it at all. So again, you have to let me know what's going on, because I don't know, is that because you can't do it or because you didn't watch the video and you didn't know what to do? Like, I'm assuming when you're asked to do TN and you've watched the video and you've some idea of what your answer looks like, then if you put down, like some people put down, the only word in the entire answer was the word linear. Like, if you watch the video, I can't understand how you would think that was the right answer. So I can only assume that you didn't watch the video. So yeah, I just need you, if you're finding them hard, to, when you submit your homework, like I've said, I need as much information as possible. I need you to try it. I need you to put down, and I really appreciate people who are doing that because it makes it easier to mark. But if you feel like what you're writing down perhaps isn't right, then, draw a couple of arrows and be like, I don't get this bit. I'm getting 9, but I feel it's wrong. It might not be wrong, in which case I'll say, no, you're right, you're grand. Or it might be wrong, in which case I'll tell you how to do it correctly. Okay, but you just need to give me more. I'm just finding it very hard to figure out. And to be fair, like, you nearly have a better opportunity here than you would in school, because there's so many of you that won't ask me a question. So I'm walking around, and in school, I don't have time to actually, really look at your homework and look at each part. I just check that it's done. I'm looking, if there's 5 parts for homework, I'm looking that you've got 5 parts for your answer and that it's done. I'm not actually looking in any great detail at what you're getting. So here you've even a better opportunity to ask me questions without having to ask them in front of the class, even in a live lesson. Okay, but you definitely need to communicate with me a little bit more in your homework. So I haven't corrected these yet, but hopefully these are a little bit better. Okay, so let's start with part 4. Okay, so we'll write the sequence down first, just to, sorry, I just want to zoom out a little bit. There you go. Okay, so 75, 84, 93, 102, and 111. Okay, so first thing we have to do, part A, is find the start term. So the start term of this sequence is the first term of the sequence, which is 75. Second thing they're asking us to do is find the common difference. So the common difference is, as you go from term to term, what is it that we're going up in? So is that 9? 9, 7, 8, 9. Yep. So we're going up in 9s, which means the common difference is 9. Now the nth term. Okay, so we write down the formula. Okay. So A gets replaced with 75, the plus, the n, the minus 1, all of that doesn't get replaced, and then D gets replaced with a 9. Okay? So we multiply the 9 by the n and the 9 with the minus 1 there. Okay? So the 75 is not involved, the plus is not involved. 9 multiplied by n is 9n. And then we have the minus, and 9 multiplied by 1 is 9. Okay? Then we have our families. So this one is on its own, so it stays on its own. These two are both numbers with no letters, so I can do this. Now, A couple of you made this mistake the other day. So I'm typing into my calculator 75 minus 9. My calculator says this, 66. Okay? There's no sign in front of the 66 on my calculator. Okay? If there's no sign in front of a number, then it's a plus. If it were a minus, there'd be a minus. Okay? So we don't put a plus in front of things all the time. Like, if I asked you to count the number of books on your desk there, like I can count the books on my desk 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 11 books on my desk. I don't say plus 11, I just say 11. Okay, so when we have 66 on our calculator, that's a plus 66. And that's what goes into our answer. Plus 66. Okay. And then the last part D, says, so for that one, here it is here, see, we want the 27th term. So we do 9 bracket, we replace the n with 27 plus 66. 9 bracket 27 means 9 multiplied by 27. So that is 243 plus 66. And 243 plus 66 is 309. Okay, now I'm hoping, given that's about the 5th or 6th one we've done, that everybody got a bit closer with that one. I'm just after noticing that the last one is a sequence that goes down and we haven't done one of them yet. So you might not have gotten that right, okay, but we'll do it now. And some of these algebraic concepts that we're talking about now, so the multiplying the 9 by the bracket and the adding together families, we're going to do this in the next chapter. So we'll be reinforcing these concepts, as in I'll basically be teaching them to you again, so you'll get a chance to revise them and revise them and revise them. Okay, so that will help, because here obviously they seem a little bit kind of out of order, I suppose, but then when we do them in the next chapter, hopefully they'll make a bit more sense. Okay, so I'm just going to take down the 5th one and then I'll scroll over so you can see it. So 22, 20, 18, 16, 14. Okay, so question A wants the first term or the start term. It's 22. Part B wants the common difference. So to go from 22 to 20, that's going down by 2. 20 to 18, down by 2. 18 to 16, down by 2. And 16 to 14, down by 2. So the common difference is minus 2. Now this is what I mean when you're going down. We haven't done this yet. But you have a calculator and your calculator will help. So A plus n minus 1 times D for the third part. Leave the Tn alone, leave the equals alone. The A is 22. The plus, the bracket, the n minus 1, the bracket all stays. D then is minus 2. Okay? So our multiplication is going to be minus 2 by the n and the minus 2 by the minus 1. Okay, so the rest of it is not involved. The Tn, the equals, the 22 and the plus are all not involved in the multiplication. So we multiply minus 2 by n. Okay, minus 2 by n, the theory of multiplication hasn't changed. It's just minus 2n. Okay, now the next multiplication is the minus 2 multiplied by the minus 1. Okay, I would suggest try this on your calculator. So minus 2 multiplied by minus 1. And what you will find is that you get plus 2. Okay, when you do minus 2 by minus 1 on your calculator, you'll get plus 2. Okay, I'm just going to scroll over because there's a couple of things here. And like I said, we're going to go back over this in the next chapter. Sorry, I just want to check something. Where is it here? Sorry, we have actually, yes, we have. See here? So we have actually done this before in chapter 3. I'm going to write it again, okay? But your multiplication rules, do you remember these? When the signs are the same, you get a positive answer. When the signs are different, you get a minus answer. Okay, so I'm actually just going to snip this because this is exactly what we're talking about. Okay, let's go in here. Oh, sorry, I'm doing the homework, am I? Sorry. Okay, so this is the rules that are applying here, okay? So to get that plus, we multiplied a -2 by a -1. So we were dealing with that situation there where we had two negative numbers being multiplied. So that's why the answer ended up being positive. Okay? So these are rules we have kind of worked on before, but you may not have remembered it. Okay? Now, I have an issue with this. Okay? So I don't know if you can see it, but there is an issue that doesn't make any sense. This here. Okay, you can't have two signs. You can't have plus minus. Okay? But look, when you have a plus by a minus, so a plus and a minus together, that gives you a minus. So we can change it. So we get 22, the plus minus becomes a minus, 2n, and then plus your 2. Okay, now we do the family thing. So the n, as always, is its own family. So we just write it down as it is. Don't forget to bring the sign with it, okay? We didn't bring the sign with it over here, but again, that's because it's a plus. And pluses don't need to be written at the start. Like I said, I have 11 books on my table. I don't need to say plus 11. So when it was a plus 9, I didn't need to carry it. But you have to make sure that if it's a minus, that you bring it down, okay? So it is very important that that minus is carried down, okay? And then the other two are in the same family. So we have 22 plus 2. So if you need your calculator, 22 plus 2, your calculator will say 24. The fact that it just says 24 means that that's a plus 24. Okay, and then the last part, the 50th term is what they want. So we go -2, so I'm just copying -2. Next is n, and I'm going to make that 50. And then plus 24, plus 24. This is a multiplication, so your calculator or whatever, -2 times 50 is, is -100 plus 24, and -100 plus 24 is -76. So that was the sequence that was going down. So if you keep going, it's quite close to 0 already, you know, like 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th term is 14, so the 6th term is going to be 12. 7th term is going to be 10. 8th term is going to be 8. So apparently the 50th term, if you were to keep going, would be -76. Okay, so that's the homework. First one, hopefully, given we've done a bit of practice, you should have been able to get. The second one, there was some tricky stuff with the signs. Now, not new stuff, because we did it when we were doing integers, but it would have relied on you remembering that, and I had intended to kind of show it to you first, okay? But it doesn't matter. Like, again, this is not about I love when you get your homework right, but that's not what it's about. It's about learning. So if you didn't get this right, but now you're listening to me going, oh, okay, fair enough, then that's absolutely fine because now you know how to do it. Okay, because we know linear sequences can go up or they can go down. So when they go down, your D is negative, it has a minus. And then when you do the multiplication, you're multiplying a minus by a minus. Okay, because this minus is always there. The one in the formula is always there. So if you have a minus out here, then you're going to be multiplying two minuses, and that means you're going to have to take this law into account. Two minuses multiplied to give you a plus. Okay, so hopefully that is okay. Right, homework will be Thursday, the 4th of March. Oh my God, can't type. And Friday the 5th of March for McGrath. Okay. Let's bring this out. Grant, I'll come back to that. So, right. So I'm not actually moving on as such. I'm just going to look at a couple of the more problem-based ones. Same thing though. Okay, so it's going to be the same. You're going to get more chances to practice here because it is the same thing. So, a pattern of squares is built up from straws as follows. Write down a formula that represents the number of straws for each pattern. Clearly explain all the letters in your formula. Okay, so a formula, they're looking for the general term. So when they ask me for the general term, I write down my general term formula. Okay, and we know that I need this one and I need this one. So I need to know what's A and what's D. Okay, so let's write the sequence down. So how many straws are in the first pattern? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it starts with a 4. Second pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Third one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. Okay, so now I can see what A is. There it is there. The first term. And then the common difference, it is going up by 3 each time. So now I know what D is. Okay, so let's throw these in. So the Tn stays, the equal stays. A gets changed into a 4 plus bracket n minus 1 bracket, and the D gets changed into a 3. The 3 is going to be multiplied by both parts of the bracket. The rest of it is not involved in the multiplication, so Tn equals 4 plus not involved. 3 times n is 3n. And then 3 times minus 1, if we want to look at it like that. So the 3 doesn't have a sign, which means it's positive. When you multiply two different signs, so plus and minus are different. When you multiply different signs, you get a minus, and 1 by 3 is 3. Okay? Families then. So the n is always on its own, and since it's a plus, we don't need to bring the plus, we can just write 3n. The other two, 4 minus 3 is what I'm going to type into my calculator. When I type 4 minus 3 into my calculator says 1. When it's just 1, that means plus 1. Yeah? Now, it says clearly explain the letters used in your diagram. So we have to tell them what N stands for and we have to tell them what Tn stands for. Okay? So N is the pattern number and Tn is the number of straws in that pattern. Does that make sense? So let's see. I already know over here, I know that the third pattern has 10 straws because I counted them, right? So let's try that in the formula. So if N is the pattern number, and I'm talking about the third pattern, then I turn N into 3 plus 1. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1, and that's 10, which is the number of straws. So N is the pattern number, meaning that N is either the first pattern or the second pattern or the third pattern or the fourth pattern. That's what N is. And then the answer you get, Tn, is the number of straws in that pattern. Okay, and we've just checked if it works, and it does. Okay, so how many straws will the 50th pattern need? Okay, so I'm going to take my sequence, which is 3, or my formula, which is 3n plus 1, and I'm looking for the 50th pattern. So we go 3 times 50 plus 1, which is 150 plus 1. So that pattern is going to need 151 straws. Yeah? Now the last one I'm not going to do right now. I mean, you can probably figure it out. What pattern will require 226 straws? You just have to kind of work backwards and see, can you figure it out? But there is an algebra technique to do that. And I'm actually going to copy and paste this now. Where do I want to put it? Okay, so I'm just going to leave that there just to remind me to do it when we do get into the chapter. But like I said, you could probably, figure out which pattern it is. It would just take you forever. So there is a really quick way of doing this using algebra. And I will come back and talk about it when I've shown you how to do that. Okay, so we'll link them back together. All right, but for now, we started with this pattern. I used it to get my sequence. Here's my sequence here. Once I had A and D, I was able to put it into the formula and get my nth term or my general term. And then the question was, how many straws will pattern 50 need? So I turned the N into a 50. Did my multiplication, so brackets mean multiply. So 3 times 50 is 150 plus 1 is 151. So pattern 50 would require 151 straws to make. Okay? And like I said, for now, we're going to leave part C. So for homework, for Monday, isn't it? Yes, for homework for Monday, I want you to do question 5. Just leaving out the last part on purpose because it's similar to that other one where we require a bit of algebra. you know what I might do? I might leave it at that, but I'm going to add a question. So part E, that's annoying. Just make that black. Okay, I'm going to have to leave it with one bracket as much as it hurts me. Okay, so how many marbles are needed to make the 15th pattern is going to be your part E. Okay, so almost exactly the same. It is exactly the same as what I just did, except with different numbers. So we're starting, like the straw question had 4 straws to start with, whereas here we're starting with 6. That's the only difference. Okay, all right, that is due for Monday.